Perfect.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, press the click. We're live.
Oh,
No more
There
nine
you
to
go.
five, what a way to make a living. Crypto is on the rise, making that dough in the crypto paradigm. Watching it go, buying low, selling high. Riding the wave, I'm here to stay, living in the digital age. No banks, no fees, just decentralized. It's crypto paradise. Ooh. No banks, no fees.
Alrighty, let's kick this thing off. Good morning from Paradise Servers. Happy Tuesday, January 27th. We took a snow day yesterday, got hit by a big storm. Hope you dug yourself out there, Nick. We got a great slate of stories to cover for you guys today. Big topic, why does Bitcoin feel stuck between 85 and 95K? And when are we going to break out of this range? Feels like it's been ranging forever, hasn't it? So get into some of those details for you guys. Got some Federal Reserve news to cover. Looks like one of the executives at BlackRock is now the front runner to take over as the Fed chair. Very bullish, very dovish if that in fact happens. So we will discuss and evaluate for you guys. Zach XBT, what a legend, man. The blockchain sleuth has done it again, and this time has outed some punk kid who apparently stole like $40 million from his dad, apparently, and who was supposed to be helping the U.S. government with custodying and securing some $40 million in crypto, and this punk kid takes it. So we'll talk about that story. I thought it was pretty damn funny. And I don't know what else we got going on today, but I'm hoping you dug yourself out of that storm. How much snow did you guys get over where you're at?
I don't know. Probably somewhere between 8 to 12 inches. It was a
Pretty
very
good. Pretty
nice,
good.
fluffy snow, so it wasn't bad. It wasn't like icy or anything. But yeah, yesterday just kind of cleaned off the cars. The kid wanted to go sledding, shoveled the sidewalks because the dog wouldn't go up the stairs, that kind of stuff. Took a day off, and we didn't really miss too much. Bitcoin and Ethereum relatively flat down a little bit. Ethereum back just below $3,000. Bitcoin right around 88,000 or something like that, 87,000. So nothing much going on. Stocks were green yesterday. That's what I wanted to start with. The Nasdaq, this high-level consolidation we've been talking about and following, continues to brew. It's sitting at the overhead resistance right now. So now will be a decision maker. Will it get rejected and head back down? And this will be the collapse of stocks, or will it break out here soon enough? You can see here it's hit this overhead resistance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now hitting it again for the 8th time. Usually, the more times you hit the resistance, the weaker that resistance gets. But this is the stock market. This is the global markets here. But this looks like a great high-level consolidation for another breakout. Now, the crazy thing is, stocks, massive V-shaped recovery, outperforming all historical data points, and Bitcoin and Ethereum just have not followed. The only things following is gold and silver. Silver broke that $100 mental barrier over the weekend, and gold beat Ethereum to $5,000, still sitting at $5,068 after a sell-off. I believe it was on Saturday or Sunday, back below 5,000. What are your thoughts here? We just continue to see precious metals, gold and silver, do their thing. Nasdaq looks like it wants to break out again, but Bitcoin and Ethereum continue to range since November.
We're still in phase zero. That's my take, right? You guys know the phases, the market rotational phases, right? The old school version of this infographic, let's call it, started at phase one, which was Bitcoin pumps, right? And then it moves into ETH, and then big caps, small caps, microcaps, etc. I think the new version is better because the new version starts with phase zero. And phase zero is gold and precious metals running. And we've been in phase zero for good, looks like 6 months now or maybe longer. We haven't gotten the rotation. I do believe it will happen. Hasn't happened yet. And I don't think it's going to be some, everyone who bought gold is going to rotate into Bitcoin, or it's all going to go into Bitcoin, the rotation. No, it'll trickle in different asset classes. But Bitcoin's so small, $1.7 trillion asset compared to gold, like 36 trillion. That doesn't take a lot of capital to move into Bitcoin. So look, We're in a strange place. We talked about it a little bit last week. I think there's enough macro kind of global uncertainty and quote unquote chaos that it has scared a lot of market participants. And we saw a bit this weekend, didn't we? I think Bitcoin on Sunday crashed. I forget the reason, if there was a reason. But I think maybe it had to do more with the fucking ICE protests and that bullshit. I don't really even know at this point. But there's enough going on where Bitcoin, it's still perceived as a risk asset, and we're just not in a place where people are willing to invest into risk assets. So that's where we're at. What was it? Do you remember the crash on Sunday? It feels like a distant memory now because I was busy yesterday. But like, what happened there? What was
I
the
didn't even pay attention, honestly.
Fair enough.
Doesn't even matter, to be honest. When we stayed in the same $2,000 range, we saw on the last live show we did on Friday that Ethereum and Bitcoin leading into the weekend were sitting on their major support levels. Both of those support levels gave away minorly. Ethereum's now below 3,000, which was kind of the level you needed to hold. Bitcoin at 87.7 here, so that's below where you needed to hold as well for the uptrend line. So that formation is no longer active. You do still have higher lows from the previous lows that we had in November. So you're not in a bear trend, but you don't have any bullish formations. And this is kind of what you were talking about here from Miles. This is what we've been talking about now probably for a month or two since the first gold breakout. We're at a bit of a weird spot because the exact thing pushing metals up, debasement, lower dollar, increased liquidity, safe haven demand, aren't currently impacting Bitcoin. I would argue that increased liquidity hasn't fully came yet just because we have ended QT, but we've only seen 3 interest rate cuts. Interest rates are still very high, and we have not really seen real QE, just kind of QE light. But the thing that potentially end this metals rally, like a policy-driven U.S. rebound that pushes yields up, would likely be bad for Bitcoin and risk assets as well. What crypto needs is geopolitical cool down where confidence returns and we get de-escalation driving the dollar higher and risk assets with it. AKA markets hate uncertainty and Bitcoin is not a very good asset yet during uncertain conditions. This is nothing new. This is exactly what we've been saying for months. Do you agree with this or have you changed your thoughts?
I absolutely agree with it. I mean, as much as we want Bitcoin to be this sort of safe haven gold proxy, but a digital version, the market hasn't really accepted it fully as that. Maybe at times it's performed like that, and Bitcoin's a bit of a chameleon in that sense. It can take the properties of different assets at different times, perhaps, but for the most part, I don't think it is perceived of as the digital gold really yet. I mean, you see it now. I mean, gold's running, analog gold is running, and Bitcoin's not. So, I mean, what more proof do you need? It's very volatile, Bitcoin still. I mean, we're only 16 years into this thing, so it's volatile. It's a small asset. There's still a lot of people that, small number of people that hold a lot of it, which can have an outsized impact on the price performance and the volatility. So no, it's not really like gold yet. I just think in general, like when you have gold running to the extent that it is, I don't know if we're going to see a breakout of the stock market when that's happening, and I don't know if we're going to see a breakout on Bitcoin and ETH, etc. when that's happening. We just have to wait for this run on gold to sort of complete itself, and then yes, you'll see some rotation in different asset classes.
Yeah, I mean, even NASDAQ hitting that upper resistance 8 times currently. That's because gold is running, silver is running. They're sucking up the liquidity, they're sucking up the interest, which makes it even harder for stocks to follow. Now, talking about liquidity, today and tomorrow, big thing for liquidity, the Fed decision probabilities. Today, January 27th, the first meeting is today, but the actual decision is tomorrow. 99% chance of no change. So the market probability are saying, well, there's too many headwinds going on. There's too many scapegoats that Powell can lean on, and Trump is attacking him. So why wouldn't he just lean on those scapegoats, hold pat, not do an interest rate hike, but just do no change and roll over till March 17th, which is another month and a half away. What are your thoughts on this? I know you started leaning towards no change a week or so ago, and the market is now, leaning to 99%. It was 90%. It was 89%. It was a very high percentage. But now they're saying 99%. We haven't heard them talk yet today, but maybe that transcript is out and it's more hawkish than dovish.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to second guess the poly market bettors at this point because they're probably in the trenches. They put money into that bet, so they've done their research. Not to say they couldn't be wrong, but no, I don't know. I'm not confident at all we get a cut tomorrow. What I think Trump should do, actually, is assuming no cut, right? So Trump didn't get his way. He's obviously upset about it. We're going to be upset about it. Everyone's going to be a little bit upset about it. I think, by the way, it is priced in, so I'm not expecting like a crash or anything like that. But what Trump should do, he should pull out his quote-unquote Trump card, and he should straight up nominate the next guy tomorrow afternoon. He said he wanted to do it back in December. He said he wanted to do it in January. They were like, oh, it's just right around the corner. And now they have a new guy, Rick Reeder, I believe his name is. He's the CIO of BlackRock, so top executive over there. He's now in the front running to become the next chairman of the Federal Reserve, which would ostensibly be very bullish, very dovish, however you want to say that. And so, yeah, Trump should just go ahead and, pal, you ain't doing what I want. We're not going to focus on you anymore. We're going to look towards the future. And the future is rate cuts, QE, and Rick Ryder in charge, LFG.
What's crazy is, yeah, Rick Ryder did take the lead over on Polymarket, but what's crazy is there's so many Fed shares that are pro-rate cut, pro-Bitcoin, and pro-QE right now, because before him was Kevin Warsh, similar situation. Then there's Ryder here today, and if you go back down here, former Coinbase advisor Kevin Hassett emerges as the front runner to become the next Fed chair. This was in November of 2025 at the lows of the Bitcoin and crypto stock market. So, I mean, here's three names, all individuals who are pro-Bitcoin, pro-QE, pro-interest rate cuts, and all are in the running to become the next Fed chair. But even if they don't get the chair, I think the bigger picture is there's plenty of people in the Fed who are like minds with us, need to see interest rate cuts lower, want to see adoption of digital assets, or supporting new technology, and wants to get out of the way. So either way, I think we're going to be in good hands. We'll see how it all plays out, and we'll see what that leads to today or tomorrow with, will there be an interest rate cut here in January? Will there be an interest rate rise? Will there be no change? I don't know. And then we have to wait a month and a half until March, until the next potential interest rate cut in May, when one of these guys take over as the Fed chair.
Well, let's just assume we get no cut. What's your expectation on tomorrow's market reaction?
I don't think there's going to be much of a market reaction because we've been in the chance of no change above 90% now for like a month. And now we're at 99%. So I don't think this is going to be a surprise to the market unless there's an interest rate increase. You know, I mean, right now, 99% chance of a no change the day before the event. It was a 90% chance last week. It was an 89 or 87% chance 2 weeks ago, and it was an 80% chance a month ago. So I think the market has already picked their side here. And if anything, it would be more of a surprise if there is a cut, and that's where we see the real volatility probably to the upside, because that would be a big surprise.
Yeah, I don't think any surprises tomorrow, and I don't think the market's going to react. We could get a surprise pump. You know, this goes back to my theory of like, whatever you think is going to happen, the opposite happens, because the market makers are in control, and you'll see, oh, everyone's going to pile into the shorts because, you know, the market's going to crash when there's, you know, no rate cut. It's like, no, the market's going to pump because the market makers want to wreck everybody. So we can see that too. We'll see what happens. But I guess the bigger question in my mind is like, when the heck do we break out of this 85 to 95K range? It feels like it's been 2 to 3 months. I mean, are we looking at we're looking now almost 2 to 3 months now since end of November? Since we've been stuck in this range? Are you getting bored? And when do you think we break out of here?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since November. Really, the 10-10 liquidity crisis started the drawdown. We saw that relief rally to $116,000 on Bitcoin. And then we had that big sell-off as a lot of market makers were filling their bags. So, I mean, it's been a long time. It's a quarter now, 25% of a year, sitting in this range between really 85 to 90K, with a low at 80K and a high of $98,000 just a week or two ago. It's crazy how the numbers affect momentum and morale so much. You know, we were above 95,000 not once, not twice, but 3 times. And as recent as 98K just a week or two ago, which is big milestone numbers for the market, for MicroStrategy, for all the market participants, for Thomas Lee, because that means Ethereum was higher. Up, what was it, 3,500 or something like that? And it's just crazy how just these couple percentage points influx and affect the market so much here currently. And that's because we really are at critical levels. We've been in this range for 3 months, and a breakdown from here all but assures that the bears were right. The 4-year cycle continues. And do we continue down for another 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, year and a half? We don't really know. But if we can break up above 95,000, then the bulls are back in control. And you have the bears saying, well, it's just a relief rally to 110,000. And that'd be quite a relief rally and one we could possibly take profits on. But if we get a relief rally to 110 from here with this market timing and all the macros, I think we go to new highs.
I want to
Looks like we lost Crypto Amaru there. Let's see if he pops back in. Here he comes. Lost your audio, though. Got your video back. Get that sorted. Well, it looks like he dropped off fully. I was hoping he would get back on because I was yelling at the dogs here. They're playing in the background. I don't want you to hear that in the background. But let's see what's going on here. Share screen. Here's another thing coming out of Cryptos R Us. Just in, BlackRock files for a Bitcoin Premium Income ETF. Today, BlackRock has filed an S1 with the SEC for a new iShares Bitcoin Premium Income ETF. Offers Bitcoin exposure with yield, so similar to some of these MicroStrategy products. Generates income by selling covered calls on IBIT. Designed to monetize Bitcoin volatility and potentially reduce downsides versus holding Bitcoin outright. This marks the next phase of Bitcoin ETFs, moving beyond pure price exposure towards structured income-focused products, followed by IBIT's historic success. I would say just hold underlying Bitcoin. This is when I talk about options. I don't like it per se, but this does mean that BlackRock will hold underlying Bitcoin for you and then just try to outperform the market by trading and leveraging up on both sides.
Can you guys hear me? I think I'm back. All right. Sorry for those technical difficulties. I think this is nothing but bullish. Look, anytime you add these new structured products to an asset class, it attracts more capital, attracts a different class of investors. This is maybe more sophisticated institutional investors looking to sort of hedge so their positions, perhaps if they're holding spot or they're sitting in an ETF. Okay, now I can get some additional yield perhaps using the structured product. So I'm very happy to see this bullish news across the board. But I wanted to go back to I lost the comments, by the way, but one of our guests was making a great comment about the price is not reacting to positive news, and therefore, it's clear we're in an accumulation phase. And I completely agree. I think we're in an accumulation phase. I mean, you look at the chart, we're in an accumulation phase. There's not really a dispute in that. The question is just, where do we go next? I know a lot of bears, their thing is going to break down. They're going to be very sorely surprised when we break to the upside, which I think is what's going to happen.
The bears for the 4-year halving cycle to continue. The bears are calling for 40,000 to 45,000 Bitcoin. That's when they would be right. When we did have that strength to 95K, 98K, MicroStrategy in the green, momentum coming back, then they all switched up the narrative. Well, we're still in a bear market. We're just going to rally to 110,000, then we're going to go to 45K. And then now they're like, oh, we couldn't even get 98K, so we're just going to go to 45K now. I mean, that's what their target is, 40 to 45K. Bears to be right, 4-year cycle to continue. If we can break up and really get above that 110K, then the 5-year cycle, the super cycle narrative is in full effect. I mean, it's pretty wild to see what's going on here right now, but it's not just Bitcoin. It's really all risk on assets are going through a lull as gold and silver are sucking up that liquidity, getting all the attention in these moments of uncertainty where you have European potential tariffs. I don't know why people are afraid of tariffs anymore. I don't get it. Other countries have been using them for decades on us. Now we want to use them as bargaining chips. Haven't even followed through with most of them, and you guys are scared. The Greenland situation seemingly diffusing pretty bigly, how Trump would say it, after Davos. So we'll see where that all lands. But there isn't going to be World War III over Greenland, guys. Literally, negotiations was made in a public foyer and almost came to an agreement during Davos. A public foyer. I don't understand what the fear is, but really, the momentum of trade is gold and silver. $5,000 gold, $100 silver, and let's see where it all goes. Would I be buying those? I don't think so. I just upgraded to an iPhone 17. Look at this thing. We're going to get a lot of good content out of this. But the guy there was like, hey, I started buying silver at $85. What do you think I should do? And you're like, why would he even ask you that, Nick? Well, I pulled up in the Corvette. He's like, oh, what do you do? I said, oh, crypto content and a little this, little that. He asked me about silver, and there it is. A random AT&T guy finally bought silver at $85. Saw it at $100 that day is when it broke 100 and asking if he should buy more. I said, do you own any crypto? No, he doesn't. So instead of buying more silver, I said, go set up Coinbase and do a $5, $20, $100 a week dollar cost average into Ethereum, and I think you're going to outperform. I mean, that's still what I believe. I think Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin outperforms silver and gold over the next 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, and that's really the play that you should be. But the crazy thing is, in real life, AT&T guy finally bought silver at $85, which is already a 4x off the lows. And I was wondering if you should buy more because it hit 100, which is only like, what is that? Like a 10% gain, a 15% gain from his original entry. And he has the FOMO himself.
First of all, I just want to give you a huge shout out for onboarding normies at the AT&T store, telling you about Coinbase, Ethereum, the undervalued nature of it. 10x potential. I mean, this is what we need, guys. So if anyone's watching, okay, I want you to go out. Next time you're out and about, you get a question about investments, you get a question about gold, silver, whatever the case may be, tell them about crypto. Do your part. Tell them about crypto. I know I'm shilling it whenever I can get a chance to. A soft shill, of course, but a shill nonetheless. Nick's doing his part, so I want you guys to do your part in onboarding the next 100 million people. So we all need to come together in that. Going back to the 4-year cycle discussion, for Bitcoin to break down to 40 or 50,000, I mean, it would have to be completely divorced and separate and apart from every other asset class, which is doing nothing but going up. Every other asset's just been crushing it over the past year. Money's piling in everywhere, seemingly. And now you're going to tell me, $1 trillion or so is going to get sucked out of crypto over the next few months here? It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make sense. The asset is not separate and apart from every other. It's all connected. You think about who controls the prices on the market. It's a lot of big players, institutional players. They're exposed to all different kinds of asset classes. Everything's connected, guys. So for Bitcoin to dump another 30 or 40% from here, it just belies all logic to me. I think everyone who believes that, they're just so much in the trenches. They've been in crypto. They ignore other assets. They're not looking at the big picture. And so they're thinking history is going to play out exactly as it does previously. But I think everything's changed in this market. Chances we're going to break out. Bears are going to get left behind. And they'll be buying back in higher. That's my guess.
I would agree. Yeah, and I was just looking at the Pokemon index sets, and even those are either at new all-time highs or slightly off the highs, but still higher than previous highs. So, collectibles are still staying strong. Sports cards, Pokemon cards, in the face of the gold and silver rally as well. So, I mean, it's really every market. NASDAQ up here sitting at highs, looking like it wants to break out, getting slowed down by gold and silver. But, I mean, we've seen what happens to Bitcoin when gold finds tops. I mean, we had the major rotation. These guys have been, like, inverse. We talk about the April 2025 top. What happened there? That was the exact low on Bitcoin before it ran up to new all-time highs while gold went sideways for 3 months. Then we saw the rally from August 2025 to October 2025. What was that? Bitcoin, 126,000, then had its 1010 liquidity crisis while gold was finding a top consolidating before this next breakout. And then it has been a complete inverse correlation as gold has rallied from October 28th up until today, just a slow grind higher till this breakout, and gold has had a slow grind lower with some capitulation wicks. So, I mean, the nature tells you, the history tells you that you need gold to slow down. Gold doesn't need to be dumping, but it needs to drop and go sideways for liquidity to flow into the crypto markets. And the same now is, now you have gold plus silver rallying, which is something we really haven't had in history, which explains a lot why Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all altcoins are struggling as well. Because not only do you have gold sucking up liquidity, now you have silver bugs being created by the day. The random AT&T guy bought his first silver at $85 just a couple weeks ago and wants to buy more across the break of 100.
Let's hope he can sell it. It's actually not that easy to sell these precious metals, apparently, at least not at spot price. You can go to the dealer and get 30% less than spot or whatever pretty easily. But this is not as liquid of an asset as a Bitcoin or
yeah,
a
it's
major
definitely
crypto.
it's I would say, I don't know if not liquid's the right term, because it's definitely liquid, but getting it at fair price is different. Because if you're buying it off of your online retailer, right now all the prices have a major premium on it. First of all, they always have a premium because they're selling you like a Cougaran or a collectible piece or an American one. So there's always a premium over spot. But plus then you got to pay taxes, then you got to pay shipping. So even if you go to the local pawn shop, buy junk silver, they're going to give it to you at spot plus something, and then you have to pay taxes on that, another 9.95%. And then when you go to sell it, they're going to give you to you at spot minus something, and then you're also going to be paying fees on that. You're supposed to pay taxes on any capital gains you have there, right, guys? So in order to actually make money on gold and silver, you need like a 25% rally or more to even get to break even, unless you already had it in your closet and got it handed down by the government. And when you look at the prices, I saw somebody tagged me and they're bragging about, oh my gosh, 2 years ago you could have went to Costco and bought a gold bar for $2,550 an ounce. Then you pay taxes on that. So what is that? $2,700, $2,800 an ounce. And right now it's $5,000. Less than a double up before you even sold it. And that same period, you could have bought Bitcoin at $16,000 and sold it for as high as $126,000. So I don't know what it is with gold and silver. I don't know if it's because mainstream media, the way they portray it, because there's more retail involved. Like they brag about the $2,500 to $5,000, even though there's other fees in there. But they don't even blink at, yeah, Bitcoin's down to 89,000, but you could have bought it for 16,000 a year or two ago.
Well, it's running now, so everyone's dunking on us Bitcoiners, and they're all cheering and so on. But we'll have our moment in the sun, guys. We'll have our moment to dunk on them. But our assets down relative to the all-time highs, and they're smashing all-time highs every day. So of course they're dunking on us. That's just how the nature of the beast. They're not listening to Nick and going into the details of the fees and the taxes and all those those unfortunate details that make the investment much less appealing, in my opinion. But look, good for you if you're in gold and silver. We're not here to dunk or make fun of anyone. I'm happy you guys are making money in these markets. I think the big question on cryptos, everyone who's a crypto native, well, when is the rotation going to happen? Well, I don't know. Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon here.
It feels
one
very...
thing I'll just add on this before you go. I don't know if it's retail driving this run on gold as much as is like nation states. It's the different Federal Reserves around the world. Every country has one. That's who's driving this thing up more so than retail. So
yeah, for sure. The retail just helps the local precious metal places, local coin shops, pawn shops, because if they have that much demand, people lining up around the corner, well, what are they doing? They're not pushing down spot either. They're not selling to you at spot. They're doing spot plus a 10% premium, which then helps reflect on the open market on what spot truly is. Because if nobody can buy it at 5,000, they got to pay 5,200. Then there's a lot less overhead resistance on the actual chart price of 5,200 as well. And that's how you get kind of the circle going. And local areas then affecting the larger regional areas, then affecting global prices. Is everybody has the mindset of, if you go buy an ounce of gold right now, I want you to go to the pawn shop or go wherever. Tell me what they're going to sell it to you for, because it isn't 5,000. You're going to be looking at 51, 52, 5,300 in my estimation, and then you're going to have tax associated with that as well. So you go prove me wrong. Go do a video. Go into the local shop and tell me what they sell it to you for, and then tell me what that price is after you swipe that card with the credit card fee, the taxes, and everything else associated with that.
Apparently my wife found my missing gold necklace. Maybe I should go to a local pawn shop and do a little content and figure out what the deal is there. It's kind of cold out, so I probably won't do that, but who knows?
That'd be good content with gold.
Yeah, I'm just lazy. I don't really feel like leaving the house when it's like 10 degrees. So
That's
I gotta
the
wait
thing
for this to unflaw out
with
here.
the gold prices at 5,000 too. It's like you're not really getting the jewelry premium either. Essentially, I bet you that you take that in, they would test to see what it is, they would grind it on a stone, and they would pour acid on it to see if it's 10K, 14K, 18K, or 24K, and then they would weigh that on a scale, and then they'll do the math and then give you a price out from that. Probably spot minus a couple percentage, and they're just going to give you the spot price for that piece of jewelry. Now, if they sell jewelry, they'll probably sell it at a premium, try to sell it as a necklace, but a lot of people with this price of gold are just going to melt that down and sell it as, raw gold.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel like selling it, but I could do it. I could go there and just do some experiments. I mean, that is fun. That's a cool idea. I should consider that. First, my wife said she found it, but she didn't show me where it is, so I'm not really sure if I believe her. It's like, yeah, I found it. Like, okay, can you grab it? Oh, I'll do it later. Like, I don't know if you actually found it.
Interesting.
We'll report back on this story on my necklace on tomorrow's episode. What other stories we got crypto related here? I think people are probably sick of hearing about gold.
I think the other thing here is this one. Big 60% of top 25 U.S. banks are building Bitcoin products per river. Remember, we're talking about like the Stablecoin Act, the Clarity Act, and all this other stuff, and the banks are pushing back on it. Why? Because they're not going to get a portion of those fees. They're afraid it's going to cut into the business, which it would. But they are building products, and once they get their own Bitcoin products, their own stablecoin products, then magically they'll be like, this technology is the best. Everybody should support it. We're going to put our money behind it. Why? Because they can make money on you and make money on the services as well. And right now, 60% of the top 25 banks, well, they have Bitcoin products in the works here in the United States. I did see another article talking about how the UK has had a steep rise in banks turning down transactions in relation to crypto transactions. So while the United States is embracing crypto and Bitcoin, Europe and the UK has been going the other way and denying transactions. This is something we haven't heard of really since like 2017 run, where US banks were denying transactions, closing down bank accounts, doing all these investigations if you interacted with any crypto websites or Coinbase. UK just continues to fall behind, cutting privacy, cutting crypto transactions, putting regulation on different things, and they are just falling apart over there. I don't know if you saw that headline, but it was just crazy to see this pop up for the United States, and then corresponding UK is getting worse, where 60 to 80% of the crypto transactions are failing over there.
Had not heard that story. Not surprised. It's the same country that says they want to ban you holding more than $10,000 in stablecoins. I mean, absolutely insane stuff happening in the UK. Hopefully, anyone who lives there is getting the F out because that place is falling apart. But, good news from sort of a global macro standpoint. Whatever the UK does is not relevant to the prices of Bitcoin, the adoption of Bitcoin. I'm sorry, UK, you guys were the most powerful country in the world for 300 or 400 years, but your time has come and gone. I think World War II really knocked you out for the count. But in any event, US is in charge now, and looks like 25 of our biggest banks are now getting into Bitcoin and crypto. Not a surprise. This has been a trend for a while. Certainly not priced in, I don't think. A lot of these haven't launched. If you look to see, only a handful have actually launched. Some are in exploration phase. Some are just for high net worth individuals. So you haven't seen the deluge of capital come in yet as a result of any of these sort of Bitcoin products getting launched. But this is a long-term trend. Be patient, guys. This is how we get to $1 million Bitcoin in the next 10 years, but it's not going to cause it to jump up, 100% in a week.
And the last thing, I was scrolling and saw this about 4 hours ago, so it's probably still open because the price has not moved that much. A whale has opened a 35,661,000 silver short position with 20x leverage, a liquidation price of $135.90. So that does leave a lot of room to the upside. $135 per ounce of silver would be pretty impressive. But man, to have that much money where you can have 20x leverage and your liquidation price is still something like 30% higher on spot silver price. Somebody thinks there's going to be a big rotation coming out of silver and gold very soon. I wonder if they have corresponding longs on any crypto assets. But what do you think about that? If you had that much money, would you be willing to take that much risk on silver right here, right now? But you do get
probably not.
You do get a 30% rally overhead for a liquidation price. $135.90 an ounce overhead for the silver spot position.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like playing around with leverage, first of all. But I think this trade could actually work out for the guy. I mean, look, this run on silver's got to top out at some point, and we got to correct at some point. No run goes on forever. Eventually, there is a big correction, big crash, and usually in the case of metals, I mean, these crashes can last for years. These corrections and consolidations can last for a long, long time. So I don't know. I don't know if it hits. Was it 138? Is his liquidation price? I don't.
135.90.
I don't know if it gets there, man. I don't know if it gets there. Let's see. We'll monitor the short. Good for him if he makes money. Yeah, I don't know. I think looks like silver may have topped out at 116.
Yeah, and he took the short about 4 hours ago, so he probably took the short when silver was somewhere up here around 110, 111. A steep drop in the past hour to 106. So we'll keep an eye on that. I know we're looking at precious metals here, but it's interesting to see how big money is moving around and trying to see what's going to go on with these precious metals. Precious metals is all the rage, all the talk, all the momentum, and really does affect our Bitcoin and crypto holdings. So that's why we've been talking about them. Plus, it's something that we do have some education on. Crypto Amaru has gold chains. I was a silver and gold bug before I even got into Bitcoin mining. Still have some silver, still have some gold, but over the years have sold a lot of that off for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and crypto assets. I don't have enough silver right here that I'm really like, I need to sell it all, because I don't think silver is going to go back to 20 or even 30 bucks. But a big correction on silver back into the 90s, into the 80s, into the 70s is very possible, even with the uncertainty in the market conditions, just because we've had such a big run on these precious metals with no major corrections so far.
To be clear, I am not an expert. I am a dude who owns one single gold chain that I lost. That my wife has apparently found, but has not actually shown it to me. So I still think it might be lost. But in any event, look, happy for you gold bugs out there. I'm seeing a lot of people all angry and stuff all the time. I'm not angry. Just chill. Just relax, guys. Our time will come. It's not our moment in the sun. Not every asset runs at once. When gold and silver are stealing the show, nothing else is going to go up. And that should really be the lesson here over the last 2-3 months.
Yeah, and imagine that. Gold and silver fall off a few dollars, and Ethereum rallies from 28 to 29.39. A little bit of a green candle here. Bitcoin and Ethereum trying to flip green on the day, which they have, amidst the sell-off in Bitcoin and gold and silver. So, I mean, the rotation narrative is still there. It shows it in history. and we'll see what happens. Obviously, stock market historically has helped Bitcoin and Ethereum, but as of late, it has not been the case. They have not been able to run on themselves. But NASDAQ, we've been talking to you about this high-level consolidation ever since right here, and it's looking like it's trying to attack the highs once again. If NASDAQ goes to new all-time highs and we get a gold and silver sell-off, and Bitcoin and ETH still can't get over those big mental barriers of 3,000 for Ethereum and 90,000 for Bitcoin, I don't know. Maybe we are in trouble.
You know what we need? We need like 2 or 3 weeks of no dramatic announcements, no military provocations, no crazy statements coming out of the White House. If we get 2 to 3 weeks of just calm, chill, nothing notable happening politically, we're going to see gold and silver correct, and we're going to see the stock market and risk assets go up. I promise.
That's very true. And I think Trump knows that. I think it's just tough for him to do because how is he going to keep his mouth shut today and tomorrow? If the Fed is hawkish today and tomorrow, you know that Trump's going to go out and say something. So
maybe this is a good opportunity.
Maybe we just win in a big way. Maybe the Fed says, you know what, another 0.25% cut. The markets didn't know it. Trump just zips his mouth for 2-3 weeks. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's the only way because they're going to do a no cut and he's going to be so loud the next couple days. But besides that, maybe he does just chill out. Maybe he just doesn't say nothing. He has the negotiations behind closed door going on with EU, has the negotiations going on with China, with Greenland. Not much is going on when it comes to Russia, Ukraine right now. Not much is going on when it comes to Israel right now. Maybe we can just chill for a few weeks. He can focus on the UFC fight for the 250th anniversary, the World Cup coming, the Olympics coming. He can just do some of that planning and just post about that because that will get everybody happy. Hey, guys, the world is a crazy place, but we have the Olympics coming, World Cup coming, UFC 250 coming on the White House lawn. What a great time to be an American and what a great time to be a human and part of this global community. Just say that and the markets will surge. Please, Trump, just be happy for a couple weeks here.
Yeah, I don't know if we get it. Let's see what happens. But yeah, those couple of weeks of just calm and not a lot of announcements, and we'll get some greens in the risk assets. Maybe this is a good time. I shared with you a tweet that sort of went through some of the Trump accomplishments because there is a method to his madness. But man, I mean, there is a price to pay in the near term on the financial markets at times. We saw that with the tariff crash in April of 2025. We've seen it over the past few weeks with the Greenland FUD and whatever's going on and gold running. So, there is a price to pay for how he does things. But I think for the most part, things are looking pretty good. Things are looking pretty good from an economy standpoint, sort of a global military standpoint. I'm feeling mostly good. I want my risk assets to go up. But otherwise, feeling pretty good here. This is some good stats here.
These aren't usually signs of a nation on the edge of collapse. Yeah, that's a thing too. All these, I saw some videos that have been going viral about economists saying that tariffs are terrible and devastating and disastrous. And I replied and said, well, from when I look at, if this is disaster, give me some more disaster because interest rates are going down, inflation is falling off a cliff, deportations are on the rise, GDP is beating expectations, housing prices is going down. Like if this is disastrous for the economy, you're talking about a tariff stimulus check coming this year, then give me more disaster. I just don't get it. Obviously, people, when you're looking at data, economics, whatever it is, you have to leave your human nature and your political bias behind. If you are an expert in mathematics or an expert in economics, you have to look at the cold data. Not who is producing the data, not that it's Trump, not that you're a fucking liberal with blue hair. You have to leave all that behind. You got to focus on the numbers. And I mean, these are some more numbers here. These usually aren't the sign of a nation on the edge of collapse. Murder rate at a 100-year low. And now Democratic cities are trying to take credit for it, even though they were yelling at Trump for putting National Guard in their cities, which then correlated to lower crime and lower murders. So make that make sense. I don't get it. Record foreign treasury ownership. U.S. border totally secure. There's no illegals coming across the border, and we've deported 1.5 million. Now, people are like, oh, my God, ICE killing people. Holy cow. Did you say that when Obama deported 5 times as many illegals as Trump? Did you say that when 67 people died under ICE custody under Obama? No, you did not. Also, did you say that about Tom when Obama gave Tom, the guy who's running ICE here, actually a medal on the world stage at the White House? The very same guy that Trump rehired to run ICE now. No, you didn't, because you're a fucking idiot. Record equity markets, new all-time highs across all indices. Dow Jones, S&P 500, NASDAQ, Russell 2000, gold, silver, all new all-time highs. Bitcoin and Ethereum did go to new all-time highs briefly, but we'll throw them in there. Best AI and military on the planet. We got trillions of dollars of companies investing in American markets. Yes, that's NVIDIA, that's Intel, and the list goes on. Record household wealth. Low unemployment and inflation. Inflation is actually falling off a cliff so much, according to Trueflation, you should probably be worrying about deflation. And that's why maybe, just maybe, the Fed surprises us with another interest rate cut. I'm just going to say it in case it happens so we can cut this up and act like I was right all along.
Dude, stick with your prediction. That's what we need, conviction more when it comes to, quote, social media influencers. So stick with that. Hopefully we get it. The other thing you left out is low gas prices. I mean, 5-year lows on gas prices. I guess that ties into the low inflation and so on. But for the most part, things are going very well. I think the problem is social media and just like mainstream news sources. Look, the engine of the news, social media, it's anger and it's the hatred and it's the fear. That's what drives people to go and seek out these news sources, and they'll click more if they're feeling this way or see stories that validate their pre-existing views in that sense of, oh, I'm angry and I'm upset. But I mean, there's a glass half full view of what's going on in the world right now. And I mean, the data here is pretty clear. I think also if you look at what's happening with AI and advances over there, all the investments that are going into these data centers. If you talk to the people that are paid to understand and predict what's coming, I think for the most part, they're very positive over what's coming in the next few years. Like all these titans of industry, all the AI, talk to Jensen Huang, and he couldn't be more positive about what's coming down the pike here. So I know there's a lot of scared people and angry people, but that's just a function of how social media works, how mainstream news source works. So I don't worry about it too much. I'd be feeling a little bit better if my crypto assets were higher. That's the only caveat to what I just said. Would like my portfolio to look a little bit better than it does now, but you can't always be all-time highs.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the trade deficit, the lowest it's been since 2009. So I don't know. I don't understand. Maybe it's the minority are the loudest people, because they're going to convince you that they've all switched their minds. They were Trump voters. They were not. They were not. And the majority voted for Trump. This is the mandate of what everybody wanted. And really, to me, he's doing great in a lot of things, but almost failing when it comes to deportation. Like I said, he is behind Obama by like 400% right now. And yeah, he has another 3 years. And yeah, that's because when Obama was doing it, the sanctuary cities didn't exist. Local law enforcement was supporting ICE, and that's why he was able to get so many extra deportations going. But it's like, I almost think he's failing in the deportation market. But if you look at the news, that is mass uproar. They're all protesting. They're out there fighting with police, getting themselves shot to the tune of 2 people dead, which is never a good thing. I'm not saying that's good. You don't have to agree with everything. But also, I wouldn't put myself in that situation for the cause that they are. So I don't know what changed, how they got brainwashed. I guess that's what it is. They've been brainwashed into being so anti-Trump that they can't even look that their praised Democratic leaders literally did it 5-fold and 10-fold. Bill Clinton deported 12 million illegals and took away their rights for due process. If they were within 100 miles of the border, automatic deportation, no due process. Obama created the cage on the borders in which you see that now you have an uprising at where the conditions that they're staying in under Trump. Obama built those. 67 people died in those very cages under Obama as he deported 5 million people. Trump, including self-deportations, is somewhere around 1.5 to 2 million. So still way behind those Democratic leaders that you guys loved and praised. But now you're screaming and getting yourself killed on the streets trying to stop ICE right here today.
Well, I'll tell you the good news about immigration. The majority of Americans do not support illegal immigration. They actually are supportive of ICE, even though if they think certain tactics have gone too far and that there's been tragic moments that have happened. For the most part, average everyday Americans support everything that's happening. The bad news, and actually now I've remembered why we had the little crash, quote unquote, this weekend. After this most recent protester was killed, right? By the way, he had a gun. Don't bring a gun to a protest. I mean, you can easily get shot, right? And it may not be your fault or whatever. If you're wielding a gun, you're holding a gun, and you're at a protest with ICE who also have guns. Like, what are you thinking? This is fucking stupid. Anyway, so because that guy was killed, now the Democrats are saying, we are not going to reopen the government. There's going to be another
Yeah, I
vote
did see
now to
that.
fund the government coming up in a week or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're not going to open, we're going to close the government down to, fight, whatever, protest ICE or whatever, because there's going to be funding for ICE in that. That is a really dumb hill to die on if you're a Democrat.
Right. I think in the short term it affects the markets because we saw what happened last time the government closed. It does dry up liquidity, especially now with the Fed and the money printing and trying to do stimulus checks. That would slow all that down, the Clarity Act. So probably wouldn't be good for the markets. But overall, I don't think the average human, and now, the Democrats can't even say it's the Republicans' fault. They're the ones choosing to shut it down. And like you said, there's a lot of people that are against illegal immigration. So if they're not getting a paycheck and markets are going down because you decide to close down the government because some protester wanted to push an ICE agent and carry a gun, that probably doesn't go over well. Tragic. I don't want to see anybody die. But also, I am not going to be protesting federal agents deporting illegal immigrants with a firearm. It just doesn't make sense to me. But, yeah, I did see that news come up. That's probably why the market sold off now that I think of it. Because Polymarket started saying that there is a higher than 50% chance the government shuts down by January 31st. So if we get a no change today and tomorrow, and then a government shutdown in 4 days from now, that probably isn't good for overall market conditions. And that maybe could lead to a breakdown in Bitcoin and Ethereum if it's not already priced in.
Yeah, that will not be good. I do foresee that all happening, to be perfectly honest, because, it seems like the left wing of the Democratic Party, they're all up in arms about it, and this is a hill they're gonna die on. They're gonna die on the hill of let's support illegal immigration. It's gonna cost them electorally, because that's not what the majority of Americans want. But they'll die on that hill, and then it'll go on for a couple weeks, and then the Democrats will capitulate because they realize, oh wait, we're effing over everyday Americans, taxpayers who, now their flights are delayed, and now their checks can't get sent out for Social Security, whatever the hell is going on. The federal government's not getting, people are not getting paid, they're not showing up. And that's a hill they died on for illegal immigrants. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. Politically, it's stupid, but probably it's going to happen, and for a couple weeks we'll have another shutdown. But this is, at a certain point, does the market have to just start to laugh and go, who cares about this, and just continue its onward and upward march?
Yeah, I think all the other numbers say that, but again, it's all about liquidity, and that just slows down the liquidity growth for risk-on assets because, like you said, people aren't going to be getting their checks, which means less liquidity in the open market, which means harder for Ethereum and Bitcoin to pump at least. I think that would also add to more global uncertainty here in the United States. So do more people buy Bitcoin and silver? I don't know.
Yeah.
On a positive note, if the status quo plays out, ETH will be the only quantum secure crypto asset and flip Bitcoin in 1 to 2 years. Do you think that's possible? Would Bitcoin devs refuse to adjust to potential quantum scares while Ethereum seems more nimble and maybe be able to stay quantum resistant for a longer period of time? Do you think this is just some guy having some hopium, or is it actually some validity to this perspective?
Well, we do know that the Ethereum devs are much more nimble, and they are constantly upgrading the network, whereas the Bitcoin devs don't really do anything in that sense. But I do think the quantum threat is serious enough that the Bitcoin devs going to have to get off their ass and upgrade the network to make it quantum resistant. I do think big picture, the quantum scare and the quantum FUD is just that. It's just FUD. It's just manufactured FUD. But the problem is, if enough institutional, old school money, boomer types buy into this FUD, and then they're scared away from Bitcoin, that's a whole class of investors that aren't going to be buying. So it is a big deal, even if it's kind of fugazi, in my opinion. So let's get it solved. I don't know why the Bitcoin devs can't come out and say, all right, we've opened up a committee, we're exploring this, we're committed to upgrade the network so it's completely quantum resistant. Just say that, and the FUD goes away. So I know Coinbase has done that. Coinbase has opened up a committee. It looks like Ethereum's done the same. Bitcoin devs, where are you guys at? Get your shit together.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Coinbase has definitely done that, and Coinbase, that would lead me to believe that they're going to be on the Ethereum side because why? They have the base chain now, which is a scaling solution for Ethereum. So let's see what happens. I think obviously they're going to support Bitcoin where they can, but it's not directly tied to Bitcoin devs, much more so that Coinbase is probably tied more to Ethereum devs with their base chain launch at the head over there. So watching today, Bitcoin still red for the day, minus 0.66% at 87,685. Ethereum went from green back to red at $2,925. Still holding 2,900, but you will love to see it break back above the 3,000 mental barrier. I mean, it's crazy to think just a week or two ago, Ethereum was $3,400 and Bitcoin was $98,000. Massive sell-off with the tariff flood coming out of the EU, the Greenland uncertainty, and the looking like no interest rate cuts happening today or tomorrow. We have fallen off quite substantially for Ethereum from 3,400 to as low as 2,700, and Bitcoin from 98,000 to as low as $86,000.
But it's still just consolidating in the same range it's been in for 2 or 3 months. That's kind of the thing. So I know it sucks. It's not fun to see the value of our portfolio go down, especially when it was higher a couple weeks ago, right? And you felt so good. Oh, we're going to be above 100K, and then nope, wrong direction. These consolidations can last longer than you want them to. I'll just put it that way. So it is what it is. It is what it is. There's some more headwinds, I guess, to get over. The big one to me right now, I think the Greenland fund's behind us. I think tariffs is kind of, that's a nothing burger now. The U.S. government shut down. Let's hope they can avoid that. I mean, are you really going to say we're going to shut down the government so that we can just have open borders? Because that's kind of the implication of what you're saying. You're saying we're not going to fund the agency which is responsible for making sure there is no illegal immigration in the country. I don't think that's a good. I mean, if you want to say, look, we want to put more regulations around ICE. Maybe they can't carry guns. They got to have tasers instead. Fine, do that. Like, agree to something. But don't say we're going to shut down the government, inconvenience all these people, crush the markets, so that we just won't have ICE anymore. We won't have any border enforcement anymore. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, it would be crazy if that happens. No Fed rate cut today or tomorrow, and then you get a government shutdown by the end of the month. That would be pretty devastating in my estimation. But I don't know if it's a hill that even the dumbest of Democrats would want to die on.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it was just a knee-jerk reaction to the tragic death of that guy. And, there's probably, 10 or 20% of the hardcore left wing of the party there. Oh, yeah, shut it down. But you don't need every single member of Congress to vote to keep the government open. You really just need, 5 or 10 of these people to come across the aisle and vote yes with the Republicans. So maybe it's a little bit more of overblown fear than we're imagining. Although Polymarket, I don't know what Polymarket has it at now. It was at 80-some% a couple days ago, if I'm not mistaken. So, by the way, I don't think the lack of an interest rate cut is going to crash the market. The interest rates, they obviously affect price of risk assets. But they've been doing a lot of QE light, non-QE, QE. That to me, and I think that's going to continue. And that may have more of an impact. So I don't know. I'm not too worried about the interest rates at this point, crashing the market. But yeah, no, if they shut down the government over illegal immigration, man, that's not going to be a great thing, is it?
The government shutdown odds for a very long time were in the 30s. It dropped to as low as 9% on January 23rd and then shot from 9% up to 80%, currently sitting at 79% after the events and context that happened over this weekend, I guess. So there is now a 79% chance, according to Polymarket, that the U.S. government shuts down this Saturday, January 31st, jumping from 9% to 79% in just a couple days. I think that's a little overblown. Maybe there's not much liquidity there. But that would be wild if you had a no Fed cut tomorrow and then a government shutdown on the 31st. That wouldn't feel good.
I'm just thinking, who would really support that? Yes, you have, 20% of the Democrats that are super liberal, and they're open borders, that's what we need. And okay, so they're just crazy. But, most people don't want that. So you're going to go out and you're going to shut down the government, inconvenience so many people, and hurt them financially because you want open borders? That's and we know Trump. You look at reasons why Trump got elected, and there were a lot of reasons: economy, inflation, blah blah blah. But a lot of it, you go to the exit polls with people. What was your most important issue? Legal immigration was right up there among the top issues for people. This isn't just some inconsequential minor thing. People are really bothered by this, and I think even more so after the whole Somalian fraud was revealed. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's probably hundreds of billions have gone out to illegal, scammers in the past few years since COVID. People, I think, probably more angry about it now than they used to be. So I don't know, man. If you're a Democrat, this does not seem like a smart hill to die on. Not at all to me. So
I've chosen a bunch of bad hills to get on. I'll tell you that much. That's how they got in the situation they are. That's how they lost. Really, they lost in 2016, 2020, and 2024. So, I mean, dying on bad hills is what they're the best thing at besides cheating and fraud. So, let's see if they die on another bad one and how they dig themselves out of this trench. The thing is, it's going to be harder and harder to cheat the more illegals get deported and the more, you're putting voter ID at the top of trying to get things passed. You're putting ICE at election boxes, and everybody's like, oh my God, putting ICE to put fear in people in voters' minds. If you're a legal American citizen, if I see an ICE agent at a polling booth, I don't give a shit. It's not going to change my vote. The only people it affects is illegals, and you're proving my point exactly. If there's no voter ID and then ICE is deterring voters, well, who's that's voting? I mean, they say the quiet part out loud. They make them sound stupid, but somehow people still buy into the propaganda and their brainwashing. I don't get it.
crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Let's hope if there is a shutdown, it gets resolved in short order. I mean, the last shutdown lasted for like a month or
Way
more.
too long. Way too long.
It was maybe the longest one on record. I don't know if this one would be as long. We'll see. Look, who knows what the hell is going to happen? There's a bunch of yahoos in control of the country. I think long term, assets go up. Hard assets appreciate over time. The dollar is not a great place. That's another reason why, by the way, gold's done so well. Apparently, investors are selling treasuries and moving into gold because they're like, I don't trust the dollar. By the way, treasury is a horrible investment. Anyway, I don't know why anyone would invest in a treasury. It's like, all right, in 5 years, you make 4% or some shit. It's like, what are we doing? This is the worst investment ever. But I digress. That is one big reason why we've seen a run-up on gold. Dollar's in a bad place. You shut down the government again. Further trust is eroded. I don't know. It's all bad news. So let's hope they can come to a meeting of the minds. Why can't someone just be like, hey, we're not going to get rid of ICE. That's just stupid. Guys, this is not a logical take on what's going to happen if you do a shutdown. Why not say, all right, ICE, you can't use guns, just tasers. Problem solved.
Yeah, to have those paintball guns that shoot the mace balls. But the thing is, I don't know why they do this. I don't, because government's retarded. I don't know. But they use like Tippmann 95 firearms, which means they're semi-automatic, gravity-fed for paintball. The only reason I know this is because I was big into paintball and I have like 4 guns right over there. Why do they not use battery-fed hoppers? Which means that those things become like semi-auto. You can shoot like 20 bullets a minute. Instead, they're using gravity-fed, which is literally like, doom, doom. It's like when you go buy a rental gun. I don't know. The government has all this money, and yet they're using literally the cheapest hoppers available. Screw gravity-fed, get the battery-fed, and start laying 20 paintballs into people, and I bet you they'll back up. They do it with the mace balls, but it shoots like 1 out at a time. Boom, little fucking dinker at people. No. Spend the $200 on the hopper and start laying down ropes at these people, and I guarantee they back up. You don't need to use an actual gun, and you just lay ropes of mace balls at these people's faces, and they'll turn around.
There you go.
Costs like
So
$200
we have all
per
the
officer.
answers. We have all the answers. To be fair, like, we're not on the ground there. It does seem very chaotic there, but also it seems oddly organized with these protesters. Apparently, they're not really just random people.
Oh, they're
It's
all
like,
bussed in. Yeah, it's all being paid for by Soros, and all that conspiracy theory has been proven true via payment rails, via these NGOs that created, and that's what they do, via Craigslist postings, literally paying you weekly to go out and do these protests. I mean, it's crazy and wild out there that people do that. Because whenever I see it, I'm like, do you guys not have a job? Like, are these people getting paid by the very government that they're out there protesting against? Like, what is going on? How are you out here in negative 20-degree weather for a week straight? Like, where are you making your money? I don't understand.
well, they're probably on unemployment. They're probably collecting money somehow off the federal government, somehow, some way, and then they're getting this on top of it. Meanwhile, bringing guns to the protest. I mean, it's just madness. The whole thing's insane. But I guess it is not, yeah, it's not organic. And I guess there was a guy who infiltrated one of the inner circles and I think the Signal, they use Signal, right? We use Telegram here in crypto. They use Signal over there to organize their, quote, protests. And apparently it's highly organized, and it's almost like it's been militarized in the way that they're communicating with each other, and the way that they're acting, and the way that they're like deploying, people to different areas and so on and so forth. So this is pretty crazy what's going on. But the good news, because I always like to leave on a positive, right? The good news is that I'd say 90% of Americans are not in support of what these protesters are doing.
I would probably agree with that. High percentage. It's just scary because thankfully, a lot of people on the left are not the most physically athletic, not the most masculine, not the highest testosterone. Because, like you said, they're getting more and more militarized. They're building shields, they're building barriers. And if there are a bunch of Chads over there, it's going to get harder and harder, and a lot of people will probably die on both sides of the aisle, and that is causing chaos in America over an objection to illegal immigrants that has been going on for decades and supported in the biggest tune. The biggest deporters were that of Democrats. Bill Clinton and Obama deported more than any other president in the history of the United States, and those are their poster child and their golden gooses when it comes to Democratic presidents.
Really crazy. You can't make this stuff up. Hope everyone's staying safe out there. I know for all our European friends are probably like,
The fuck are they
so
talking
sick
about?
of America just like effing over the markets and what is going on over there, and can't Trump get his shit together, and why is it so chaotic? And I'm sorry, guys. On behalf of all Americans, I am sorry that this is just what is going on.
What's also crazy is in your daily life, you see all this chaos, but in your daily life, I haven't been affected by it at all. And I live in a major city, a blue city, too. It's a red state, but it's a blue city, and I haven't seen any of this just because it's really loud on mainstream media, but it's really a small number of people. But also, America is so big with such a big population that I just don't see it in my daily life at all up until present. Maybe at some point, I know here in St. Louis, ICE was here. There was like 12 people on an overpass. But you know how many? We have hundreds of overpasses in this city, and 12 people on one didn't even get on my radar.
Yeah, I haven't felt it at all in my life whatsoever. Other than there has been a few protests. I think there was like the No Kings protest a few months ago.
That's retarded.
A very, it looked like, it was weird. It was older folks, like boomers, a lot of boomers, and then like some college age kids. It wasn't anyone who was like my age, got like a young family at home, like working hard, paying taxes, just trying to like get by every day. It was like the boomers who have already made it. They're sitting pretty, paid off houses, sweet looking retirements,
Have
no
nothing
kings,
better to do.
whatever. And then it was like the LGBTQ, I think, crowd who are in college.
Yeah, the No
That
Kings
was
thing
the
is
vibe.
just makes no sense to me. I mean, literally, the majority of the population voted for this individual for a 4-year term, which isn't what kings do. And then they're giving praise to what the UK and Britain is doing with their immigration, and they actually have a monarch and a king over there. So it just is quite odd, some of the pushing points that they choose. It's like so hypocritical of their own viewpoints. They support a king over there, and they're saying we have a king here. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, the whole thing's wild. I just thought it was funny that like what was going on with that No Kings, it just wasn't representative of the majority, right? Older liberals and then younger liberals, but no one in between.
Why is it that
Including moderate.
boomers are so liberal, especially white women? White women are the biggest problem in America, and that's crazy to say as a white person, that we're like, white women fucking are a disaster for American politics and American decision making. Well, what happened? It's like the suicidal empathy where these older white women are just insane, kissing the feet of minorities and anti this and anti that, and everybody peace, love, hope, unicorns and rainbows. I don't understand what happened there, but it is an alarming percentage of white women that are going liberal, voting liberal, protesting liberal. It's kind of crazy. I don't get it.
I don't know. I think they grew up in the 60s, so they had that kind of ethos of, protesting and fighting against the powers that be. Maybe they're hearkening back to their youthful days in that sense. But I think a lot of it's just the education that people have been brought up on. These are like college educated for the most part, pretty affluent liberals who have done well in their lives. And they're kind of taught, I think a lot of times they were taught that any problem in someone's life was not the result of that person's own decision making, their choices in life, whatever. It was all structural. It was all a wider, it was because there was slavery 200 years ago, and then there was Jim Crow in the South, or there was civil rights, or there was all these bigger things. They're attributing it to all these bigger forces, And so the individual is never at blame. It's always the fault of whatever befell their community, either this generation or previous. And so no one's bad. Everyone's good. It's all the fault of the, powerful or whatever. And this sort of mindset, I mean, it's permeated academia, it's permeated even going into the grade schools. I don't want to call it brainwashing, but I mean, it's really a problem. It's become a problem. It is a problem. Because I think, to me, the biggest thing is like, you're now taking away agency from the individual. Why can't it be that like some people are pieces of shit, some people are dumb, some people make bad decisions, some people are evil, some people are straight up evil. Just call it what it is. It's not because their ancestor was a slave 200 years ago. They're just evil piece of shit. Why can't we just call a spade a spade? No, it had to be their ancestors. They were, persecuted 100 years ago. Like, come on, guys. So anyway, we're going on some rants today. But the whole thing pisses me off, and hopefully the government doesn't shut down or risk assets can pump.
Yeah, and I think some of those things do affect outcomes today, but the way that they're shoved down your throat, it just doesn't match the numbers again. I'm a numbers guy. And even at the peak of slavery here in America, it was 1.5% of the total population even owned slaves. And of that 1.5%, only about 85% of them are white. The other 15% were other minorities. So 1.5% of the entire population, 85% of them were even white. And that dictates this whole systematic thing that they're talking about. It's pretty crazy to think about that only 1.5% at the peak had slaves here in America, because they would tell you otherwise, that it's 100% and it was all the white man's fault for doing
it. It's always the white man's fault, isn't it? But yeah, man, we're living in crazy times. We're living in crazy times. The good news is, because me, ultra positive guy, again, the majority of people don't buy into this nonsense. The majority of people, hardworking, tax-paying Americans, don't like what's going on with immigration. They do believe in individual sovereignty and decision making, and it is up to the individual. They want more limited government. They don't want to pay higher taxes. They want more freedoms. That is the majority of Americans. I firmly believe that. And so long term, I think we're completely fine. I got to get to this crazy moment. You know what, too? Like, do you think these kind of protests and stuff will be happening under President J.D. Vance? Because I don't think so. It's just the way that Trump is, and people have such a visceral reaction to him. And like you already proved it with people weren't protesting when Obama was deporting 5 million people. And J.D. Vance is kind of like, I mean, you may not agree with his politics if you're a liberal, but he's kind of like the way he's a smooth talker, and like, he never says anything really that wrong. Yeah. You kind of can't hate the guy that much. Whereas Trump, I mean, people hate this guy. So, it's a crazy time we're living in, folks.
Also, on a positive note, Pulse Chain is up 1% today. PLSX up 2.5%, and Inc. up 2.75%, holding all-time lows. So they didn't go to new all-time lows, held the levels, higher lows. Maybe a turning point for Pulse Chain, who knows? Hard to do it in the face of a red Ethereum and Bitcoin. But, at least there's something to end on a positive note. Some green over on Pulse Chain. Ethereum above 2,900. And NASDAQ continuing to rally. I see that Surf's about 15% off the lows as well. So I think we got another DAO member from one of our Thursday spaces. So tune into that to get the alpha. But I think one of those projects might have bought up 200,000 Surf to become a DAO member, allowing the Surf to outperform the underlying Pulse Chain network. And EMIT still holding around $1.77 even with the downfall of Pulse Chain, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. So, you got to look on the bright side of these things. Things are holding. And you want to look at assets that are holding strong, outperforming while the general market is going down, because those ones will have favorable outcomes if and when the Ethereum and Bitcoin and Pulse Chain price charts turn up and to the right.
Bro, I'm telling you, once we get 2 weeks of calm, nothing chaotic, no fights over this and that politically, man, risk assets are going to do great. So let's just pray for that. Let's pray for that scenario. I have been very pleased to see some runners in the trenches. We saw Penguin go from 0 to 100 million. I think it's probably correcting now, but kind of out of the blue, Penguin, random meme coin. I don't know the full story behind it, but it's sort of funny that like Pengu, perhaps the original Penguin, is now sort of like gotten is I think this Penguin one is now basically the same market cap as Pengu. Maybe I'm wrong, but just kind of funny to see. So good to see. Look, trenches maybe showing signs of life, runner here and there, probably orchestrated. My theory actually is that Solana insiders, and I mean like foundation people, like real true insiders, they're orchestrating these things. If Solana doesn't have runners in the trenches, and there's no hope to make money in the trenches, then there's no point in going on Pump Fun and being in the trenches, and then their whole chain just goes to shit. Because that's the whole point of the chain. It's kind of a cynic's take, but would love to hear a Solana guy, come on and try to prove me wrong that there's other stuff happening on Solana other than memes. But you need the runners. Happy to see the runner. I don't know, Nick, did you see the Penguin one on the timeline?
Yeah, I did see that a little bit on there. I haven't looked at the price chart, didn't really get involved, but like you said, it is nice to see some runners. It does look like we also lost our chat here on Riverside. I thought, oh, okay, nobody's talking here for quite a bit, but if I look on YouTube just now, quite a few chats. So shout out to Dovakin, AJ West, Martin Max King having the conversation, following along even with our Tipman 95 discussions, even with our UK discussions. They were in here chatting. So sorry we couldn't see that on the Riverside chat. I know today we kind of went on a tangent as far as political stuff, which not everybody enjoys, but not much going on in the markets. And this overreaction is what we call it to some of the politics and ICE and everything going on is directly affecting our risk on assets in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's really directly affecting this price surge in gold and silver as well.
Oh, it absolutely is affecting it, guys. Like, politics affects your bags. Look at it this weekend. If that dude didn't get shot, we would still be at 9% chance of a shutdown. So basically no chance of a shutdown. Dude gets shot because he's protesting whatever this, that, the other. And now we're talking about a government shutdown and more chaos and risk assets suffer. So for everyone's like, why are you guys talking about politics? Directly affects our bags. Not to mention some of the stuff pisses me and Nick off. So, we're going to rant and rave when we can. So I know it probably bores the Europeans out there. I apologize if you're European. We want to hear from you, by the way. What are you guys pissed about in Europe? Probably the same shit, by the way. Like, goddamn liberals are letting in all the immigrants. I'm guessing that's mostly what you guys think. But so these are actually worldwide phenomenon happening. This isn't just the U.S. with liberals and their crazy policies, letting in all the immigrants. So sorry if we're talking about politics again. Sorry, not sorry.
I think that's really about it for the day. Let's keep watching these major levels for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Nice to see Pulse Chain having some green. It would be nice if there's some follow-through. But again, it's hard to swim upriver. I don't know how that happens unless it's Richard Hart's money himself. There was some upgrades to pump tires over on Pulse Chain. Maybe that's spurring some of the growth. So he's trying to bring upgrades to the trenches on Pulse Chain. Maybe he sees an opportunity with Solana really shitting the bed that maybe degens want to make their way over to Pulse Chain. Who knows? I'll take anything at this point. Remember, everything built over there is buying and burning PLSX and Pulse Chain, which helps our assets, PTGC and Surf. So let's just keep rolling with the punches. Let's see where we resolve. And the fun begins only when Ethereum, we've said it a million times, only when Ethereum gets above $5,000, which hasn't ever happened in history, really. And we haven't seen new all-time highs since, 2021?
Wait, you're telling me we're not having fun? Getting rugged? Seeing our assets go down in price? Dealing with FUD? This is not fun? I thought this was fun. I thought this is why we got into crypto. To not make money, to lose money, and just feel pissed off every day. Thought that was the whole point of it. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong on that. But no, guys, it's going to be all good. By the way, I don't think Solana's dying. I think Solana will make a big comeback. People love to gamble. Gen Z, that's the Gen Z chain. They love to gamble. They're not even going to bother going over Ethereum. They love to gamble. They'll be back once Green Candle's there. And shout out to anyone who made money in Penguin. I just think Penguin was you probably didn't even hear about it until it was like 30 mil. 20 mil. I don't know. I don't know when it started circulating on the socials, but it wasn't at 100 grand. I'll tell you that much. It wasn't a 100K market cap. It was when it was at like 20 mil. So it is what it is. This is the trenches for you. Hopefully no one gets wrecked behind the top of that one. And hopefully we get another one soon. All right, guys. We will leave it at that for today. We'll be back tomorrow with another slate of stories. And until then, guys, see you on the beach.